Hello and welcome. This is your host, Coach Kamrul Hasan. This is completely new program for you, My Career, My Future. I have started my career back in 2001 with HSBC, and since then I have been working last 18 years for different multinational organizations and also local corporations. While working these 18 years, I have realized one very bitter truth. The career development, career progression versus your innate abilities, your potential. You feel that you have talent, you have the ability. It doesn't go along. In order to progress in a career, you have to know what to play, how to play, and also when to play. It not necessarily only the qualities, your abilities, and your expertise. It is something which is beyond than that of we all know. So I thought, why not let me bring all these mistakes, all these learnings that I have made in my career. At the same time, I am bringing the experts, those who have done significantly into their career over a decade, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. Why is that? Because it is the lessons that we have learned while we have progressed in our career. And we believe that this can really help you to progress your career, because it's not necessarily what you learned, but necessarily what you need to learn in order to progress the career. So this is all about what we have learned in our career, what we have done, the mistakes, what should not do in the career if we want to progress in a career. So this is all about, we want to give back to the students and young professionals so that you can improve and you can achieve your dream career. That's the whole objective. So I welcome you for this program, My Career and My Future. And I'm really happy and glad that in this episode, I have someone who has achieved significantly in his career over the last 20 years. And to talk about the pharmaceutical career industry and career as a whole, there is none other than my guest today, Mr. Tanbir Sajib. And let me give you some brief of him, what he has done over the years. Definitely he has done his education from the pharmaceuticals, from the Dhaka University, and started his career with Novartis as well. He was former head of marketing Sanders division at Novartis. Also, he was former director, business development and excellence at Sanofi Bangladesh Limited. Also former director, specialty care at Sanofi Bangladesh Limited. At present, he is the head of commercial affairs, one of the top multinational company in the world in the pharmaceutical industry, that is Novo Nordisk. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Mr. Tanbir Sajib. Tanbir bhai.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm really glad, I'm really excited to have you into this program. And I believe that your wealth of experience over the last 20 years, which is going to help the students and young professionals, what they should do and how they can do in order to progress their career. Let's start from the beginning of your life.
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for the thought process, for bringing this kind of initiatives to the country. I think this is very important because we all, as you mentioned, we all grew from the educational life to our professional life. But what we exactly learned from the colleagues, from the seniors and from the experts, that gave the most impactful learning in your career. So, as you mentioned, you are so kind that I am not that expert. I can of course share my career journey. This is of course the pharma industry, as you mentioned, that it is a really growing market. It is one of the biggest segment in the country now, and this market has got even tremendous potentials to grow further. And with that growth of this market, the professionals, the young professionals, they should look at it, how they can make themselves really equipped and really professionally enriched to be more contributory to this role, to their respective roles, so that the industry can grow and they can grow simultaneously with the industry growth.
Absolutely. And I also believe that this industry needs a lot of talent.
Yes.
it has a more requirement than that of ever before. So let's talk about how you have started your career. Let's say from the university, you have studied pharmacy, and then what was that, and how was that, and how did you graduate to university to corporate life? Let's begin from that so that our viewers can learn from the university life what they should do in order to be here, what you are here today, right? In terms of position, like that's the every one of us we look into how can we go top to the ladder of an multinational organization. So you have reached to that position. So let us help us, how we could prepare ourselves from the university to young professionals to that level.
Thank you. It's very fascinating to go back to the long story. In fact, hello viewers, I'm sure that you all are keeping well. This is Tanbir Sajib. You can call me Sajib. I have completed my graduation and post-graduation in pharmacy from Dhaka University back in 1998 and 1999. After completing my MPharm, I started my career journey in marketing in Roche Pharmaceuticals, which is the leading Swiss company globally. Right. Yeah. So basically, I started my role in marketing capacity, and in Roche, I spent 3 years' time. Then I had that another exciting opportunity for Novartis, another Swiss organizations. I joined them in marketing capacity. I spent long 10 years in the Sandoz business divisions of Novartis. That was a quite learning period in my career, those 13 years of Roche and Novartis. I grew in marketing capacity. I worked as a brand executive. I worked as a portfolio managers. Over the next 5 years' time, I eventually became head of portfolio of Sandoz, and thereafter the head of marketing of that business in Bangladesh.
Sandoz is a avenue
of Novartis. So you know that Novartis is a Swiss company, and Sandoz was dealing with the generic divisions of the and by that time, I'm sure still today, Sandoz being the second largest generic company in the world. Part of Novartis, but it was so I was basically employed in Novartis. Legal entity was Novartis still today, and part of Sandoz I was responsible for in the marketing capacity. So those 13 years, if I would focus a bit more, because you know that the learning I had, hands-on learning, because you know that I didn't have my MBA program by that time. So basically I started with the pharmacy educations. Yeah, pharmacy education was quite helpful.
It was technical education.
Technical education was understanding the disease, understanding the product, communicating the physicians with the right messaging. But the typical marketing knowledge or education was not there with me.
So that you have learned, right? Over the
years. Learned. You know that there is a saying across the world, it's better to have the executive MBA programs. Why it is said that? Because before job, if you entered business education, it helps, but not to the extent once you have a couple of years in the business and then started having your business education, formal business education. You can really relate your real life activities and further enrich with that education and with all the peers you have in your education programs. So you know that in my journey in Novartis, I also had my MBA programs from North-South University. So I had that experience of Dhaka University Pharmacy and North-South University Executive MBA program. I would say that was another learning platform I had. I really enjoyed that journey. That was not easy because you know that I was just promoted to the heading that function. Coincidentally, I started my MBA program over there.
So before MBA, like when you started in Novartis, in Roche, right? How was that particular, learning period? The learnings, the struggles, because that was just fresh beginning from university to a corporate. How was that?
So, you know that, Kamrul bhai, you also have that similar experience. In pharma, you know that it is a specialized arena, but at this point in time, Bangladesh pharma market is now the talk of the town because it has become so large, so exciting. 20 years back, 20 years back, when I started my career, at that time even there was a high demand from a pharmacy graduate, especially I completed my graduation from Dhaka University. So there was a kind of demand in the market, in the even global organizations, they are looking for some good candidates.
They're
waiting for that who will come and join us. At that time, I would say that was also kind of scenario.
At that point
in time, but eventually when the number of graduates, university graduates started increasing, it becomes really competitive.
Right. You're talking about 20 years back, right?
Yeah.
So almost 20 years back. So now the scenario has changed completely. So right. So yet
But I would say that that point, that even the 20 years back, when we started the career, many professionals were there.
True.
So
It was.
I'm not alone in this journey. There are many professionals, and I am not alone. So for you, you have been so kind articulating my success stories. I don't know whether the success is yet there or yet to achieve, but I feel that there is a lot to achieve in my career. But if I compare so far the exciting journey I had, for that journey myself and couple of professionals I observed very closely, we had to go a long way. We had to really challenge ourselves on the learning part. It was not so easy. Every day we have to learn. We have to adapt to the changing scenario of it's a global environment, you know.
Right.
Everything is changing so fast. So from that point in time, I recall that every years, every 6-month interval, every 2 years interval, there was a change in the marketing dimension. There is a change in the governance. There is a change in the medical marketing policies. So your learning, your adaptability to the market, to the local market, also the directions of the, when I was working for global organizations, was not so easy.
Correct.
So it was all the learning. You can say that organization also supported me and many professionals on the training and development part. But how much you can learn from classroom training and development? It should be your learning aptitude, that how you can learn from your peers, how you learn from your line managers, how you learn from the top of the bosses in the organizations, how you learn from the star brands in the organizations, star brand personality in the organizations. They are very much visible, these 2, 3, 4, 5 persons who are the talented person in the organization, whatever the functions they belong to. So learning from them was really helpful.
I would add 2 points, like also learning from the mistake, because I have crossed some path, right? And I know exactly that in the mid of this path, there is a hole, there is a loophole. So if I go again onto that path, I might fall into the same lone, and I would. So while somebody transferring me that knowledge, look, there is a hole, middle of the path, and you have to cross a slightly adjust, lean forward or lean left or right, so that you avoid this mistake, rather than hurting the own legs. It's better to understand from someone else's mistake as well. So that's where I believe that these lessons, these episodes, these are the segments would come into play very handy, because in my career, I have done really so many mistakes.
Same here.
So many mistakes. So, how did you cope up?
So the journey, I was in the middle of the journey while I am describing my career path. So that 10 years of Novartis, Sandoz, and 3 years of Roche was full of learning. Basically, I started building on years some capacity. Especially for 6-7 years I was really individual contributor. After 7 years, or I should say 7.5 years, when I became the departmental head, then was a different ballgame.
So 7 years you become department head.
After 7 years, I became the department, 7.5 I should say precisely. I became the departmental head, that was called head of portfolio management in Sandoz. And after probably 2.5 years, I became the head of marketing. It was exactly the same role.
New kind of shift.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And during that time, as I mentioned, I put some more challenges in my basket, that was completing that MBA programs.
Right. Let's talk about that, how it helped.
So it helped a lot, because it was a changing scenario from individual contributor to the people management role.
Team, yeah.
At the same time, I enrolled myself to the executive MBA programs. You know that
in 2006 probably, yeah?
Yeah, I should say
end of 2006.
It was not 2006, it was basically, I should say it was end 2007.
Okay.
7 and beginning of 2008 I started, and I took a bit longer time to complete my MBA program, because I had no options to compromise my deliverables on the business. So I really enjoyed it. Because you know that MBA, you have the flexibility. So it took usually 2.5, 3 years. I took almost 4 years time to relaxly complete. I should not say relaxly, I should say reasonably complete my MBA programs, and eventually and parallelly not creating any compromise on the professional deliverables.
Okay.
And we should not also forget there was a third component, that is the family.
Correct, yeah.
So you know that by that time, because after the career I started, I got married. I had my 2 kids in the first 5 years of my career. So I had to be really careful that I did allocate some reasonable time with my family.
Yeah, this is one of the key area, that work-life balance.
Yes,
In today's world, most of the professionals and top ladder executive, one thing is common: they're suffering, all of them, or struggling in a way to have the balance work and life. So you rightly mentioned that this is also one of the challenges, that we need to learn and develop the mindset and aptitude and abilities to manage the both things.
Right. So, if I continue further, so during that time, I had several international exposures. I mean, in Roche and Novartis time, especially in Novartis time. Novartis is globally the kind of organizations. It is used to give a significant focus on the training and development part. So I had one fortunate guy I was, and that who has that opportunity to go through different leadership programs, different learning programs that helped me a lot.
Okay.
And with the diverse changing role, I also grew to that to the next level. So after 13 years, after 10 years of Novartis, I thought that I should think for some changes in my career to enlist me further with the changing scenario of the country, of the pharma market. So I joined a local company. That was first time. It wasn't exactly local. That was Novista Pharma.
Okay.
So it was earlier Organon. So I joined in the capacity of marketing, market research, medical affairs, and training and business development. It's a kind of extended responsibility. So I joined to learn to different arena of the business beyond marketing. This is one, and also to experience myself that if I can also experience some local organizations, how they work, how they deliver, how they basically, what is the difference in the pharma and the local, what are the challenges, yeah. So compared to my Novartis and Roche journey, that was not significant. That was quite a short period, I should say. It's a 15 months, because I had a fantastic opportunity with Sanofi, who is one of the leading organizations globally, and at that time Sanofi was the #1 company in the country.
Right.
Among the multinational company, pharma company. So I joined basically in a totally different role than I experienced so far in last 14 years before joining Sanofi. So I was mostly in the marketing capacity.
Right.
So in that role, I joined as a director of business excellence and business development. So business excellence was basically dealing with the Salesforce excellence and marketing excellence.
Right.
So you know that globally is now a emerging word, the Salesforce excellence.
Yeah.
How you really support your sales team to become more efficient, a more smarter way of delivering the work at customers interface.
Right.
How they become digitally well advanced to capture their delivers, to interact with their customers. So it's really an exciting arena in modern pharma concept. So that was the learning point for me. I had an opportunity to deal with more than 500 people on the ground. So I took that challenge and opportunity.
Workforce, right?
Entire workforce of the Salesforce
okay.
excellence, marketing excellence, business development, key account management. So I joined Sanofi at that time, and that was full of learning programs with the global exposure from the Paris headquarters and a couple of international events and local programs.
So what you're saying that you have learned, right? You invested your time, effort, and also energy to learn and just expand the knowledge, right? Yes. So that's the thing. A lot of us, or some of us, we may not understand that at this point you are emphasizing that you got the opportunity, you created the opportunity rather, and also you expanded it, you pushed it forward while learning. Very interesting.
So I would say that while I really enjoyed that journey, but there was an opportunity internally created further. So I moved to the business role again. But that role was a totally different dimensions in my career, because earlier what happened, I was focused in marketing, but you know that sales experience is very important for the growth.
Correct. Yeah.
So basically I moved to the role, it was called Director of Specialty Care. So basically that was dealing with the global business, dealing with a couple of different sales lines. There were 5 business lines dealing with the different therapeutic area. So I was heading that marketing and sales. The overall business responsibility of the global business wing of Sanofi.
Okay, global business wing.
Yeah, that was called specialty care.
Okay.
That was mostly global brands and global portfolio. That was 3.5 years, I should say. So, so altogether, I spent 5 years for Sanofi. In both the roles. So Sanofi gave me a significant exposure in terms of the learning ability in the in the real life field, in the sales, you know that that was a kind of roughly 300 people in my teams at that time, so dealing with sales marketing capacity. And eventually I grew further, taking up the more responsibility. Before leaving Sanofi, before joining my current organizations, that was even larger team. It has 350 plus team members in my teams, sales and marketing. So I learned a lot. I would not say that all the success stories were there. There are failures, there are success stories, there are learning from the failures, implementing some good practices from other baskets to the challenging basket. Also experimenting something that we might know will not work, but why not experiment? Why not taking the risk to really see whether we should continue the current activity all the way or bring some innovations and become failure, sometimes no issue. You need to experiment something and really add on, building on that experience to move forward.
You said three things, which is really catchy to me at least. That is risk, the risk-taking aptitude and ability, and also innovations. You said like the ability to innovate and also to move forward with all these learnings and the failure. You said exactly the failure. A lot of us, we also fear of failure. How I should cope up. Why should I take this challenge? It would be shame to fail. But in today's world, what we see that failure is actually eventually it gives the tools, the methods, experience, learnings, what not to, so that I can utilize this experience into the next career growth. Exactly, that's what you have done it.
Yes, Kamrul bhai, you are absolutely right. The points you already mentioned. So if I go back to the Sanofi time, I really enjoyed that time. That was a huge learning point for me. I have several good experiences of Sanofi. Even when I joined, I would go back in 5 years back. That was the international award Sanofi brought in the business excellence capacity. So out of 84 countries, globally, Bangladesh became second. Okay. So I was part of it. It was not me; it was the team who did it. So basically, I represented that role.
But you were the leader of that team.
I would say I was leading that role. But of course, that was not possible if the business was not delivered by the whole team. Correct. So, but in that tenure, I would also mention I didn't stop myself only delivering the business numbers and family life. I did continue my passion and hunger for the educational excellence as well. So I continued my role to really take out a couple of hours in a month or after several months or weeks to visit some universities, visit different platforms to share the learning, share the knowledge with the students of pharmacy, students of BBA, North South University, East University, BRAC University, University of Asia Pacific, so in different platforms. So that I really did from the context of my feeling that I should really share. We as a professional, I think we have a responsibility to the young professionals, to the society, the learning we had, even the learning that is worth sharing what was not working. Correct. Because it might have some insight for the young professionals. And part of that, I had an interesting personal education accomplishment during that time. You know that the Chartered Institute of Marketing, CIM, is more than 130 years back organization. It's the world's largest marketing body and world's oldest marketing body, I should say. Accredited organization. So it is in UK. Yeah. So I basically applied for that fellowship, and finally I got that fellowship. Now I'm really happy to write FCIM with my role.
You are Chartered Certified Marketer, right?
Yeah, they call it Fellow Chartered Institute of Marketing. That is their highest credentials in the different category. So and for that you have an online evaluations and certain requirements to fulfill. So with that, basically that also helped me. I regularly receive kind of articles, good learning materials out of this fellowship. So that also supports me on daily learning on regular basis. So after Sanofi, what happens that after 5 years, probably one more multinationals was really left behind my career. Because you know, if I start from Roche, Novartis, and then Novista, which is the earlier organelle, and Sanofi at the time was the number one MNC. By the time, what happened that Novo Nordisk became the number one MNC in the country. But from not that context, that was exactly a professional move. And I found a even enricher role to be offered to me, being offered to me. So basically, current role is heading the commercial affairs, is basically dealing the whole business, that is sales and marketing. That was my earlier role as well. And this is the one role in this organization. So you know that Novo Nordisk is basically the globally number one diabetes care company. And they are a company who are serving more than 50% of the global insulin requirements.
50% of the
more than global insulin requirements.
Okay, wow.
And at this point in time, in Bangladesh, this is the number one MNC.
Is it the overall market perspective or any segment? Or
Now, in totality, they are the number one multinational company in Bangladesh.
Multinational category.
Among the multinational company. And
of course, in diabetes segment.
in diabetes segment, of course, number one. And globally, as I mentioned, in overall diabetes care, globally, they are far ahead number one, taking up 52% of the insulin global supply. Okay. So, in my capacity currently, when I joined, it is business, of course, as my previous role, along with other area of the commercial capacities, that is business development, market access, public affairs, commercial effectiveness. So I am learning some new area in my professional journey after joining Novo Nordisk just 4 months back. So I would say that public affairs, market access, business development, it's a new learning area for me.
Let me ask you in this point, how important it is to learn. Yet you are a director of the or head of the department or head of commercial affairs. So how important it is?
So you know that learning is the only thing that you can, with that we can only survive. You know that every day we are learning. Only thing for the survival. And whether you are flexible enough to learn.
Important.
Flexible enough to adapt to the changes, global changes. I would say global changes. Even if you work for a local company, there is no harm on that. Equally important, you are working for a local company, in a global company. But we all are in a global environment nowadays, be it pharma, be it telecom, be it banking. So with all the changes taking place around us in the professional world, in the personal life, even in the city, you see the changes. You have to adapt. See, say for example, we have the current dengue. So you have to adapt to the situations.
Public psychology, sentence,
and what are the things you need to do? What are the things you need to avoid? If you are not careful enough, if you are careful enough, that probably minimizes the risk. So same with your professional life. What's the current requirement? I have to learn.
What the market is giving the signal.
How the
giving signal.
Absolutely. How the customers is behaving, how the market is moving. If I really stick to my old thought school, then probably I'm gone.
Some of us might think like you have done your bachelor from Dhaka University, which is the best university, and also you did your MBA from NSU, and also you have done some other training and development at home and abroad, across the world, and you have got like all this certification in the marketing. And yet, interestingly, you are saying that you're learning, you're coping, you're adapting, and you are then trying to move forward. So, like, tell us about, how easy it is or how difficult it is. Like everybody can do it, this learning mindset, attitude, and all those things.
But even training and online training, there are many stuffs. If you go to the Google, if you go to LinkedIn. So nowadays, people should not wait for the classroom training as well.
Correct.
You should not also wait for when the organization will give you a overseas training or local training with some experts. If you have that learning aptitude, you have the hunger inside. You can go to Google, you can go to LinkedIn, you can go online. There are fantastic stuffs on the online. You can grab it, you can learn. You can also write down. That's a choice.
Right.
You can also write down your learning from the experiences we have in last couple of years. You can create your own branding of learning, own definition of learning.
Correct. And also how to apply this learning and develop, right?
That's very interesting. That, say, for example, yesterday when we had a discussion on last Thursday that we are meeting today, I was just thinking and really focusing on my learning part, that how I can see my learning and without being very technical of pharma versus other industry, what are the basics of a professionals to be successful? I was just thinking of A, B, C, D, E of my own definition. Probably it might be the repetition with many other thought processes, but the way I think and way I share with my peers, I see the A, B, C, D, E of success.
Wow.
What is A?
Talk about it,
So A stands for me. A is attitude and aptitude. So aptitude is skill set, attitude is mindset. So you need to have the skill. The skill comes from your university education. The skill comes from your on-the-job learning, your family, your society. That is your.
This is soft skill you're talking about. Attitude and mindset.
Aptitude and attitude.
Right.
That you have the learning, but you don't have that mindset to apply it. So attitude and aptitude. A you can build on further, but very simplified. A stands for attitude and aptitude. B is the believe and behave.
Oh, okay.
So you know that I believe that I can be successful. I believe that I can hit more than 110%. Right. This is my belief, but I am sitting here. But I don't behave accordingly because I know that to deliver that 100%, I need to work 1 hour extra or
innovative way.
Absolutely, it's not the 1 word per se. It's more of the innovation and differentiation I am bringing compared to X, Y, Z.
Correct. The difference maker.
So if I have that belief, to reach that belief, I have to behave accordingly. I have to be innovative. I have to have some extra efforts on the ground. So behave accordingly with that belief. C, I should say, one of the terms we are using nowadays, compliance, ethics. Because for a successful professional, the moral and the compliance and integrity is very important.
So ethics is actually the integrity and principles.
Principles. So in our pharma terms, we always call it compliance. But compliance mindset, irrespective of the level of the professionals, irrespective of the function of the professionals, is very important. How much honest and integrated you are in your thought process. Personally, that defines the influence of your department. That defines your work, your success in your organization, in the industry.
And also portrays the leadership ability.
Absolutely. You don't need to brand yourself that I am honest and I am compliant. It's your behavior that will eventually create a brand about you, how much integrity you have.
People talk about
and people respect you. People believe you if you are compliant enough.
Your action is enough.
Yes.
Louder.
There is one more word in the C, that is consistency.
Oh, yes. That is... that kills actually.
That kills. So if I am not consistent enough, if a professional is not consistent, sometimes going this direction, that directions, I'm working in that pharma industry, then I'm thinking of going abroad, having some job, then coming back and joining the, I don't know. There should have some motto in life, there should be objective in life. You can change, you can change the industry even, but you should have an objective that how consistent I am in my professional journey.
Correct.
So that is two parts of C, the compliance and consistency. D stands for discipline. So it's a very old gold work, I should say. Without discipline, it cannot be.
In every time.
It works. Discipline is the core. The compliance discipline, these are very much broad work. You cannot really judge, but it makes a lot of difference in professional success. I saw the professionals whom I followed in my career, still following them. They have been really very disciplined. Still, I am struggling to learn discipline from them. It's not the time joining the office time. It's not the delivering something with consistently deadline.
It's beyond that. It's
beyond that.
Self-discipline.
It's discipline. The way you interact, the way you respond, the way you deliver, the way you stick to your commitment. Many things are the discipline. So I was thinking of the A, B, C, D, E. So basically I am confined to this A, B, C, D. If this A, the attitude, aptitude, you believe and behave accordingly, you are compliant and you are consistent, you are disciplined, I think this you will create E for execution excellence. So E is the outcome I see. It's not a formula I am giving.
It's just lessons.
It's the lessons. But I repeat this word to myself, on regular interval. Last 2-3 years, I developed this personally for me, and I repeat this to me. And any young professionals working in my team, not directly probably reporting to me, coming to me for a discussion, project discussion or signing off anything, I took out some 4-5 minutes time and shared these thoughts. That what do you think of your consistency of your career. What is your belief? If it is your belief, do you behave accordingly? That is more important. It's not the belief. Many things. I believe in Almighty, but I don't pray.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So belief means you have to reflect.
Yeah.
So we can discuss further on that, but this is the basic area we are talking, that for the professional success, you don't have a very high-end degree in your basket. You should have a standard degree, because that is also important. Without that background, business educations or technical educations, it's difficult. Modest and continuously adding up some learning certificates, programs, you enrich you as per choice. But more on these fundamentals, whether you are believing and behaving like that, whether you are converting your skills and learning to the work, whether you are disciplined, whether you are compliant, whether you have that mindset to become really successful, to create that execution excellence.
So it's really fantastic. We'll talk about the discipline, the consistency, the self-discipline, and also the belief. In a little bit, more. Let's dissect a bit more. So consistency, actually, let's go back to the earlier method of discussing the consistent model. So what happens if we are not consistent? Right. So that means we are not actually clear. That means I don't have the clarity. I don't know exactly what I want to do. I don't have the things inside my mind. So, and also it doesn't help to build the expertise on certain topics, certain areas as well. So that's what I feel. What do you think about it? Like, in order to become an expert into that industry, consistency is the pillar.
Yeah, as I mentioned that one of the term, I personally believe that consistency is the thought process, consistency on the learning ability, consistency on the professional journey. So for that, the point we discussed, you really need to ask yourself what you want to be.
Right. End of life.
Whether that excites you, whether that really excites you. Based on that, if you set your goal, it's better, it's easier to be consistent over there. Otherwise, if you are not confident on your deliverables, on your core competency, on your comfort zone, I would not say comfort zone. You cannot define on your comfort zone. It's more about your passion to be, where you want to see yourself.
Only thing is, what holds us back is actually we keep inside and we don't go and ask the same thing what we feel inside. Like, nothing wrong to develop or build the soft skill, as you mentioned, that let's build some skills. There are so many platforms available across, and anybody should be able to develop this. So this is really interesting, and we'll talk about more of this. And let's talk about the importance of having a mentor in today's profession. So then we can sum it up, and then
it's very important. You know that this is a concept for last couple of years really developed in the industry. I would say some companies are really following it. Some organizations are yet to follow, but mentorship is very important.
Somebody outside can have a mentor.
Yes, but I would suggest that given your time and given your, limitations of your family lives and many things, it's better to have a mentor within the organization, not necessarily from your line managers. Line managers, as a mentor, I would say that will not work that much, because he or she is your line manager, is giving you time and guidance all the way. If you really want to have a mentorship programs, it's better to have a person who is exactly not your line managers, maybe in other functions, other functional heads or senior persons, who or she can really motivate you, really support you with his or her learning. It can be outside if you can afford time.
You can have a mentor from the organization.
Organizations. So mentorship helps a lot. Mentorship helps, and some consultation with the mentor. Some consultation helps. Say for example, because I am not disclosing many things here, because I have some mentors. Some mentors I am saying there is not too many. Maybe I am talking about 2 people in my thought process whom I consulted, whom I used to consult on regular basis on any career move, on any critical decision I am taking, whom I consult, and I really get some real good advice over there. It helps,
and that changes.
That changes. But for the young professionals to grow,
they need structured mentorship programs that organization should really focus on the talented people they have. If they enroll them for a 6 months, 1 year mentorship program, very structured mentorship program with the assessing and evaluating progress over a period of time, structured mentorship program is required.
Fantastic. And I would say that I would also reiterate the same thing, that the mentors and coach has really played a significant role to my life. You see, because I was going to that direction. I was just going. And then when I went to a mentor and a coach, I started, just slowly, the usual path is this. And the mentor and coach helped me, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And the path completely changed. You see the difference between this, right? So usual path is this. When the mentor and coach came to my, I went to them, and then slowly my path has become this. So this is the kind of difference that could play if you can have a real mentor and you could have a real coach as well. And today we also do not realize the importance of this. So not necessarily that you know everything, but necessarily somebody else could help you to know much better. Somebody else could help you to become a better person of yourself. And this is really fact. You have the ability, you have everything inside, you have the potential. But a lot of us, or most of us, we are only able to utilize only 2 to 3% of our potentials, and rest of the potential that remains wasted. What if a mentor and coach comes to you and also you go to him and ask, how you could utilize your ability, and only then things would be different, that is for sure. And I hope and believe that today's conversation with Mr. Tanbir Sajib would come and play handy to your life. At least some of the experience, some of the learnings. If you only remember A, B, C, D, and E, that could be your A, B, C, D, E in your life to grow, and also to have the success that you think. One last thought from you, and then we can close it. Anything that you want to convey the masses from the industry, from your point of view, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean that we can spend a full day on that. Because and that's not the whole objective. Is always pleasures coming here. I have been to other programs of your new brand last year, so I'm happy to be part of it. It's always fascinating to share the learning. I should not say I'm an expert. I see in a perspective that I spent 20 years time in a professional journey in pharma industry, and only thing I can share with the young professionals, that the experiences I had, the learning I had in my career journey. I'm sure that there are many professionals out there who have that even exciting professional success stories to share. But I would say the young professionals, you please focus on your core competencies, on your area where you want to be, where you feel really excitement to work. So if you can really identify the area that really excites you, if you can really fix that and really build on that further with your learning, with your day-to-day journey, with your education, skill set, joining a particular department in different organizations, and you can really succeed if you can really fix that before entering in a professional journey. Absolutely. It is very important. And one point, that ABCDE, that is a phrase we call ABC of success. Right, ABC. You define your ABCDE. It's not necessarily should be my ABCD of E. Yeah. But this ABCD is a generic ABCDE. This is the common term we are talking about, but you define your success factors and act accordingly. Yeah. Be successful. It's your career. Why you need to show others that you are successful? It's important for you to be successful, for you, for your family. Yeah. So why not banking from the day one of your career, very focused, and be on that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's up to you that how you see your career in Bangladesh or beyond Bangladesh. So thank you, Kamrul bhai.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate for these initiatives, and I'm happy.
We are happy also to say that we are bringing the tailor-made, curated mentorship program. Those who want to develop yourself into this industry, I mean every industry, as you see that Coach Kamrul has a network means a mentor like him. So there are several mentors, we'd be bringing from the Coach Kamrul networks, and would be just catering the tailor-made, curated mentorship program for industry specific. Somebody wants to develop this career for the pharmaceutical industry. He is the mentor of this. So would have a program so that it can help you, guide you, and develop you from your inside, so that you can be the true potential, you can utilize your true potential, you can reach your dream in certain time. What matter is you reach a dream in 20 years versus you reach your dream in maybe 10 years. It's possible. Only thing is, if you have the right method, right process, right tools, and also don't forget right mentors and right coach. And that's the program. My Career, My Future is happy to bring you the mentorship program for you. And we are dedicating our experience, expertise, tools, techniques, and the things that we have learned over the last 20 years, maybe 30 years. We want to give it back to you so that you develop yourself, you achieve whatever you want to achieve in your life. We wish you all the very best, success, happiness, and fulfillment in your life. Until then, stay blessed and take care of yourself.